Hi, folks. Thank you so much for joining this episode of Politics for Parents. I'm really excited about today's episode, and it started off in a very interesting way. So, today we're talking about food and why it is so damn expensive and hard to feed your kids just healthy food. It seems almost like access to good food is limited to people who can either take the time to do all this crazy prep work or can afford to shop at Whole Foods. And let's be honest, that can be expensive. And the idea started with my friend Greg's post on LinkedIn. Greg is a food importer. He works in the import business and he understands our food system quite well. And he posted on LinkedIn one day that he had gone to Whole Foods and saw a cup of or a bowl of fresh fruit that was like $30. And he posted a picture with the caption, and it resonated with me as a mom because not long before that, I had been driving past a Whole Foods on a busy Saturday with my kids, and I just wanted to stop and get them a quick, healthy lunch at Whole Foods. And that trip alone ended up costing me far more than I had expected to pay for lunch. So he and I riffed a bit based on his post, and I realized that this is a great episode because I think we all want to feed our kids great, healthy food. We don't all have the time to grow a vegetable garden in our backyard. We don't have time every day to prepare a meal from scratch with fresh farm market vegetables and things like that. And it can be hard. And sometimes you really worry about what your kids are eating and how to make the best choices for them. But at the same time, we live in a capitalist economy. So, what role does policy even play in our food system? And what can we expect of our elected officials to help us get access to more affordable and good quality food? So, we get into all of that here and have a little fun along the way. And I hope this episode leaves you feeling a little bit more knowledgeable about our economy and our food system. And I hope you can find a way or two to maybe talk to fellow parents and your policymakers about ways to make, improvements in our system so that we can all have more affordable access to quality produce and food. Thank you. All right. So, Greg Santolo from Punk Rock Produce. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to have this discussion because your content on your Substack and on LinkedIn has resonated with me as a parent as well as kind of a health nut myself. So I really appreciate you coming today. And I'd love for you to just kick it off with telling us a little bit about yourself because I know you've got the Substack Punk Rock Produce and you're an advocate for, I think, equal access to healthy food. But you also bring your business perspective to this because you work in the food industry as an importer. I don't really even know what that fully means, but if you could just talk to us about your background and why you have such a good handle on this whole issue, that'd be awesome to start with.
Well, right on. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. So I'm Greg. I'm an importer, as you said. So about 15 years ago, I got started in the importing business and food brokering. So basically, what I do is I help farmers bring their food to market. What does that mean? It means that I seek out growers in other parts of the world in our off season primarily. Because of the free trade in NAFTA, we have blueberries here in December. When I was a kid, we didn't really have blueberries in December. But since the free trade agreement, they're here in every store, on every shelf, and we expect fresh produce year round. And I'm the guy who helps you get that. I speak to farmers, I buy their food, I import it to our country, and then my company and companies like mine distribute it to grocery stores, wholesalers, other importers like myself, distributors, the complete funnel from like Baldor to Whole Foods. Like those are our customers and everybody in between. So it gives me a pretty direct perspective of our food, how we get our food into the country. And at a time where everybody has a little bit of something to say about our food system that they're not happy with, to a time where we're facing import tariffs on everything, I thought it was great to bring this project to light. And Punk Rock Produce was born. And because of that, I talk about things on all sides of the industry, problems that I have with our food system, and ways that we can build the food system we want simply by doing things like supporting local farmers, buying food when it's in season here, and storing a little bit for later, just as our grandparents did. In 2 generations, we lost the ability or forgot how to preserve our own food for winter. It's something our grandparents did because they had to, and now because of convenience, we don't have to. Again, going back to the free trade agreement, because of things like that, we just don't have to do it anymore. We have blueberries all
Right.
year round. We have corn all
Right.
year round, but we can our own corn We can can our own tomatoes. We can freeze our own blueberries. And those are just little things that I like to share with people when they tell me they have problems with our food system. I
Mhm.
like to tell them you have agency. You can shape the food system the way you want simply by doing a few of these things.
And I think there's a couple things you said that really resonate with me, and I think that I have a shared perspective with my work. So you have this background in the corporate food world. So you understand it, that's how you make a living, and we all gotta pay our bills, right? So we all have to do some kind of work. And you bring that perspective to punk rock produce because you care about just the broader issue of food and health for people. And I think that's kind of similar to how I approach some of these issues, having a background in finance and understanding the capital markets and the economy really well as having a background in public policy and understanding our systems. This is one of those issues where I really try to find a good way to bring the policy in, but there's also, I think, a sense of market failure that our government is failing to address. So it's kind of like, what do we advocate for to help stabilize the food system? And what role do we think the government should play in supporting it so that people can have access to healthy food? And at the same time, what can we do when our legislators fail us in that regard, and they're not really doing what they need to be doing? And I think, you're kind of bringing all of that together with what you're doing, and food is really important. Like, I'm not a health nut because I want to be a size 0. I know that I feel noticeably better when I eat well, and when I go on vacation and I just have a few cheat days, I don't feel as good, and I'm not as productive, I'm not as energetic.
Sluggish
So,
in the
like, and
morning.
I
Yeah.
know
I think,
yeah, you get that too. You're a cyclist, I'm a runner,
yeah,
like, you get it. So, it's not even about just, like, what's trendy or looking good. It's really important to your health to eat well, and that comes through in all of your writing as well. So, I just wanna, like, lift that up and give you
awesome.
credit for
Thank
highlighting
you.
that.
Thank you very much. And yeah, it goes back to like I'm in the industry. There's corporate bureaucracy. Although I don't work for a huge corporation, I actually work for a small company that I have equity in. It's very hard. There's layers of bureaucracy in every company we deal with, and it's very hard to change. Like there's change that the industry can do for sure, and I'm always speaking to that. But people have changes they can make, and it's the consumer who's going to drive change.
Yeah,
Almost in
absolutely.
every facet of business, it's going to be the consumer that drives change. So the consumer can set the price. Like right now, the hot topic is tariffs, right? And everybody wants to talk about tariffs all the time. My friends ask me all the time, "Oh, are tariffs affecting you?" And I can get into all that. But at the end of the conversation, it all comes back to the consumer is going to decide. Like the price of produce is going to get expensive, and then nobody's going to pay $8 a pint for blueberries in November, and they're just not going to have fresh blueberries. And then the price will come down, or
Mhm.
the exporter won't send it here anymore because the market doesn't bear a return that's worthy of them to do it. So the consumer has ultimate say, but we have such, we have such levels of inequity in our country that then we get back to the issue of only the people who can afford to eat well can eat well. And that's what I really try to fight against. And it's tough. It's hard.
Yeah,
You're towing a line and you don't know what's the right, you don't always know the right, and it's everything, but you don't always know the right direction to go.
yeah. Well, I wanna dig into that a little bit because I do think this is one of those issues, like, I consider myself a pretty, like, conscious consumer where I'm thoughtful about which companies I buy products from, I'm thoughtful about, like, supply chains and things like that. Granted, as busy parents and busy people, especially without unlimited budgets, I mean, sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and just order off Amazon or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
But at least thinking about this stuff is the good first step, right? Thinking about what type of market you're participating in. And this brings me to, I think, the post of yours that started our dialogue, which was a LinkedIn post you shared with a bowl of cut fruit from Whole Foods. I think it was like about $30. And it just, it like
Yeah.
went right to my core
30,
because not
$35.
long before that, $35.
Yeah.
Because not long before that, as I commented on your post, that, I was, out and about on a Saturday with my kids. We're going from one morning activity to an afternoon activity. We needed to grab lunch. I did not wanna go to McDonald's, and we were near a Whole Foods. I was like, "Let's just pop into Whole Foods." They have that great lunch buffet. My
Yeah.
kids can choose what they eat, and there's so many wonderful options for them. So we go in. First, we see toys, a whole thing of expensive toys that I
Just what
had
you
to
need at a
first, like,
grocery store.
fight my kids, like, explain why we weren't there to buy toys. Then we pass the snack aisle. They see a bunch of snacks that they like, and they're all very healthy options. So we buy a bunch of those. I will say I'm pretty sure they were more expensive there than other places where I source very similar products. And then we finally got to lunch and we bought our lunch items and we got a few other things. But that trip cost me, I want to say like $90.
Yeah, just for a
That
quick
was just
lunch, for a quick lunch.
stop for a quick healthy lunch, and it ended up costing me $90, and so when you posted that, I'm like, "This is exactly what, like, pisses me off," because parents need quick and easy access sometimes, and that healthy options, like, seem so out of budget, so out of reach, so I loved that post.
Thank you. It was a $35 bowl of fruit that was just under 3.5 pounds. It was all in season stuff. And as an importer, I know this, and that posted very well. It got like 200,000 impressions and a ton of comments. And that's great. And we had a really wonderful dialogue about that. And some of the biggest comments were immediately, or like the loudest comments initially, were, what, don't buy it. And it's like, yeah, our consumerism and capitalism makes us very callous and we just say, so what, don't buy it. But when you think about the people who need it, moms who are busy, elderly who can't cut their own fruit, disabled people who can't cut their own fruit, caretakers for disabled people, elderly, and children who are just so busy and overworked and underpaid, and they just need a quick, healthy option, we tell them this food is not for you. This healthy option is not for you, and people are like, just cut your own. And like I just said, all those people don't have time or ability to do so. So we put health behind a big paywall, a big price point, and that was a very productive conversation. I'm glad it went that way. Because I was able to make that point and it was well received. But yeah, it's little is done. $9.99 a pound. And I also went to other stores after that. I went to like Food Town, and their cut watermelon was $8.99 a pound. And like I worked out like a whole bunch about why that's crazy. And you always have the detractors, but if the voices of the people who are like, this is unacceptable, get loud enough, hopefully we can, drive some change about it.
Well, and the thing is, like, I mean, that was really like, on that day, I was on a major highway in a very populated area with tons of different eateries around,
Yeah.
but really, like, that was my best bet in that moment for something healthy.
Yeah, for
There
sure.
really weren't a ton of, like, stop and grab healthy options, especially with the way my kids eat, like, it really resonated, and I think this kind of flows into another thing because this morning, you were posting about Erewhon,
Yes.
and they're coming to New York, and if people don't know, it is this, from what I can gather, from what I've read on the internet, it is just a celebrity grocery store, but it's like this wellness weird, like, Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop is probably flying off the
Yeah,
ceiling of it or
exactly,
something.
exactly.
It's ridiculous. Not tangible for most of us,
No.
but I think the more people kind of are accepting of healthy food and a $30 bottle of fruit, or the fact that, like, health is now, like, some type of status symbol,
Yes.
that's where I think this becomes type of like a policy issue, and also just something for us all to collectively decide,
This is not
do we
okay.
wanna make a market for this?
Yeah,
Do we
so
wanna make this a market, or do we wanna just say that is absurd? And maybe the reaction should be $30 for fruit is fucking
yeah,
insane, not,
not
"Okay, just
okay.
don't buy
Not
it."
not acceptable. Not if you can afford it. There's no acceptable reason why it should be $9.99 for cut fruit, especially when it was all in season. The only thing there that was out of season in the United States was kiwi, and it was imported from New Zealand. And again, I know what these companies are paying for that fruit per pound because we sell it to them. So it was obscene. So Erwin, thank you for bringing that up. It's also super relevant because again, it adds on to this like who can afford healthiness. What is it? It's a high end grocery store. They do other things besides groceries. Groceries, there'll be a produce department, but it comes with a $43,000 membership fee, like a country club. Think like a country club, and then you have annual dues to the tune of $7,000, and then you can shop there, which
But
is,
it's a store, so
but it's a
you're
store.
paying to go buy stuff.
You're paying to go buy stuff. So we can brush it off and we could say that's ridiculous. But that's a very dangerous thing to do. And I will tell you why. Because I know plenty of people who, if you told them you have to pay $1,500 a year to go to Trader Joe's to be able to shop there, they'd be like, okay, that probably works. Like, I need cookie butter bad. There's going to be a number where anybody can justify, where not anybody, but a lot of people can justify it. And that is going to gate off other people to food access, right? So we're always fighting. I'm always fighting to like eliminate that, you know? And
Yeah.
Irwin, again, it goes back to telling other people it's selling wellness, it's selling fitness, and it's telling people who can't afford it, this isn't for you, you know? And what it'll end up doing is if we accept this model, is it's just gonna, everything goes to the highest bidder. And I understand capitalism and I understand the way it works, but it shouldn't be that way with food, you know? And we're never, as far as I'm concerned, we're never doing enough to work towards that. You know, there can never be enough voices working towards that. There can never be enough people doing what I'm doing, working towards that. And, you know, we all just need to keep speaking up all the time.
Right. And yeah, and I think that brings it probably to a more relevant discussion for the purpose of this podcast. While I do think it's important to think about, within our capitalist system, like what role you play as a consumer, and how you can participate or not to, shift markets. We also, like, there are policy things that can happen to support the food system. That's the role the government's supposed to play, right? Like in an essential good like food, right? We have like the USDA and the FDA and
For now,
regulations in place for now to make sure we have healthy food, to figure out how it is that society can greatest benefit from healthy access to food, to make sure people have access to what they need to lead healthy lives. So, you and I have talked about a couple of the policies. I think one of the things we've discussed already is that healthy fresh produce is expensive,
yes.
and we need to find ways to incentivize or make that more accessible, and using SNAP benefits and incentive programs with SNAP benefits is one way that we can do that. So, do you wanna talk a bit
Yeah,
about
for sure. For sure.
programs you've seen
So,
that
yeah.
can.
So, just to quickly touch on your point about produce being expensive, it is. When we could say it's cheap, but when you break it down to price per calorie, it's expensive compared to McDonald's or a bag of chips. Or so while produce may be more filling, price per calorie, you are paying more for produce than just about anything else on the market, except for maybe beans and rice. And you know, it's not easy to just grab a bag of rice and cook it. I mean, it's easy to do it, but it's not quick like an apple, right? You can
Yeah,
just grab an apple.
yeah,
So okay, so what can we do in New Jersey? So in New Jersey, we have Good Food Bucks. It's a program where people aren't talking about it enough because I didn't really know about it. But what it does is it stretches your SNAP benefits further. So for produce, they count further. The problem is it's not available everywhere and it's not available at farms. But it's super relevant now because farm stands, farmers markets, farms in general, they can go to goodfoodbucks.com. There's a tab for markets and they're accepting applications to join the Good Food Bucks program through November. It's opening November 20. Yeah, this it's opening in November. You could submit your application, but you could email them now early, get a head start. And NJ farmers and markets can receive up to $10,000 in Good Food Bucks. So I'm not entirely sure of how the process works
okay.
for everybody. It's slightly different, but depending on what your situation is, if you're a farmer or a farm market, you should definitely go check out Good Food Box. And then we just need more awareness about it because nobody in New Jersey really knows about it. I've asked people in our industry if they know about it. They don't know anything about it. Farm stands that I sell to don't participate in it. So there's the metrics on it are good. So like there's over $1 million in incentives distributed, which isn't nearly enough, but it's a lot more than nothing.
Yeah,
There's been tens of thousands served since 2016. Here we are, we're going into 10 years later, and it should be hundreds of thousands, in my opinion. There's
yeah,
90 farms supported, which sounds like a lot, but it's there's a lot more farms in New Jersey than 90 that sell directly to the consumer. So what's missing is it's like underserved in urban areas. Even in our area, there's like nowhere in walking distance in Jersey that in Red Bank that there's a participant. So like again, like if you're on Good Food Bucks or SNAP benefits, like there's a good chance you don't have a car. So you're walking to your local store, and none of the stores in like urban areas like Red Bank, Trenton, Patterson, it's extremely underserved. Rural areas like Sussex, Salem, again, other places where people may need food benefits, it's completely like it doesn't even exist. There's no digital campaign, there's no parent facing toolkit. So politics for parents, like this is like important things like you can get involved with Good Food Bucks and help and just bring more awareness to it. So like people in your community who may be on SNAP benefits, they don't know anything about it. It's just a great thing that we're doing, and hopefully we continue to do it. And we want it in every zip code. So as we're coming into election season, everybody's should like contact their legislator and like whoever they get a chance to talk to about it. Just be like, hey, what can you tell me about good food bucks? And chances are they can't tell you much, which is sad, which is going to be really sad. So you should tell them a little bit about it, and you should be like, hey, it's this program we have, and where is it underserved? And my community doesn't have it. So I know, like, when I get my legislators ear, when they text me asking me for money or call me, I'm going to ask them about good food bucks and see what they have
Yeah.
to say.
Love it.
So go ahead.
No, I just love that,
Yeah,
especially when they do try to use us as piggy banks and ask for money. It's
yeah,
like, "What have you done for me
exactly.
lately?"
What have
Right?
you done for my community? Like, honestly, like, so like yeah. So there's like
No,
a
I
few grocery stores. The biggest ones are Acme and ShopRite. And
mhm.
I'm pretty sure, and they're not all participating, but a lot of them are. But we need it in more places, obviously, anything like this. So the other thing that's like it's backed by a $2 million USDA expansion grant, and I can't find the data on like how far that $2 million is supposed to go, if it's annually or if it's like on like a 5 year plan or whatever. With things going the way they are with federal funding is also going to be a real problem. So we need to again put put our legislators like under a little bit of pressure and like make sure that this is not one of those things that's going to get like cut at least out of our state's budget, because we have a lot of people who deserve good access to food and deserve access to good healthy food, and I believe it's a human right, and we all need to constantly be working towards that.
And I think if you think about this just from, like, a market's perspective, I mean, when I go to the local farmer's market, I mean, it tends to skew towards people who have, like, really cute tote bags for their
Exactly, the little toy
kale, and they're dressed
poodle.
pretty nice, and it's not a place where I see the diversity that I know exists within our true
Yeah,
community, and I think that if you wanna talk about and people joke that, like, you go to the farmer's market and you spend so much more. Yeah, you can spend a lot more if you go to, like, the pickle guy, the smoothie
yeah,
person, the handmade soap person, but the vegetables the produce I buy, I find quite reasonable, and if there is, like, a markup of anything, it's just because I know that they're grown very well, I know a
yeah,
lot of work goes into it, but I think to the point that we could make these markets more accessible and have more people at them and create a larger demand for these products, then there will be more competition, right? Then prices start to come down. But if we continue to kind of like buy up into the Whole Foods, into the Erewhon, if we keep farmers markets exclusive, then the price for the rest of us doesn't come down
no,
either.
not at all.
So I think that's also an importance for when I think about this, like, I care that people have access to good food, but I also think that to the extent that like organic, local, fresh produce becomes more mainstream and more in demand, then the price
Yeah.
comes down
If
for
if
all of
there's more
us,
if
right?
there's more in the market, the price comes down. And to your point of like the farmers markets have this reputation of not being for everybody. That's why good food bucks getting to more farmers markets and more farm stands is so important. Like if you know that like the Red Bank Farmers Market, the produce guy at the Red Bank Farmers Market, who's already a little bit cheaper than Food Town, which is in walking distance, or even some of like the smaller shops in our town, they have produce, nice summer produce in season that you're going to want to go get. And you know your benefits are going to go a little bit further there. We are then going to see more diversity in our farmers markets, which will be great. It'll be good for everybody. So,
Right. So basically, for anyone who kind of may not be as familiar with SNAP and things like that, I mean, how do these programs work? It seems like basically, so there's a public funding source
mhm.
that allows participating farmers to give people on SNAP benefits kind of like, is it a discount or they match? I guess so. If you go
So
with your,
in New Jersey, it could be slightly different for each one, but it makes their dollars go further. So like
yes,
instead of so if you have like whatever your SNAP benefits are per month, if you have like $30, you're going to go spend at your local, or if right now it's ShopRite. In ShopRite, if you're buying fresh produce, instead like $30 of fresh produce, what you would pay with cash goes further with SNAP benefits. I mean, it may be I don't know if it's full double or if it's 50%. So 30 would be an extra $15. It wasn't clear. Exactly how it's going to lay out this year isn't clear either because of funding. but it allows your dollar to go further, which is huge.
But essentially, because the problem really that occurs, and I think if people aren't as familiar with food insecurity and SNAP and things like that, they may not be fully understanding here that I mean, the issue is if you are depending on SNAP to feed your family, you are really, really limited in what you can
Yes,
purchase at a grocery store. So you're probably going to buy things, like you said, on a per calorie basis, stretch
exactly.
your dollar farther, which are the least healthy things, which is how we have this kind of health crisis and our food system. And to your point, because we have this capitalist market that isn't it's a free market really,
Yep.
right? Profits are the ultimate goal. You kind of have a race to the bottom because you have the SNAP program where people of limited affordability are trying to stretch the dollar the farthest. The unhealthy food is the cheapest. So that's what they're going to. So
Yeah, for
there
sure.
is a market right there for really unhealthy food. And this is where the government has a great opportunity to step in and try to
Yeah,
boost up
especially
the market for healthy food in
on
this
a
system.
national level where we have this like MAHA initiative, Make America Healthy Again, you get double the amount of fruits and vegetables for the same price at participating locations. So again, getting people into those locations and getting this initiative expanded and then um getting the word out on it is huge. I mean, I think anybody would like to get twice the amount of vegetables for the price, but the people who need it most, it's good.
Yeah, and then I think it'll ultimately benefit all of
Oh,
us if
for
more
sure.
people are buying
I
the
mean,
good
even
stuff and not the bad
just
stuff.
people having an equitable access to food will benefit us. Not even from like a monetary, like, oh, my cost of food will come down, which it will. My access to healthy food will broaden if there's more demand for it, of course. But just like people having access to healthy food will benefit society immensely. You know,
Yes.
children being fueled properly in class and like fruit produce and fruit sugars and fiber and stuff,
Yeah,
it's gonna
if
go like
food
so much
costs came
further.
down and healthy food was just more robustly available and affordable, school
Yeah.
lunches would be better, it'd be easier to feed your family a healthy dinner. I mean, it would be hugely productive for everyone. And I'd love to talk about are there some programs or things you've seen that you're like, they've done a great job. We should aspire to that. Are there places where you think some great things have
Well,
happened and
I
let's
know
just
like
highlight that?
Hawaii, for instance, Colorado, Michigan, even like Texas has a really good match program. It might go more than a dollar. It might go more than a dollar for a dollar. It might be like $1.50. It's really good. So I don't think Colorado's system is most diverse, like most spread out across the state or in densely populated areas. Now, comparing Colorado to New Jersey is a little different just because the sheer size of it and where impoverished people live might be a little bit different. Rolling out in a city like Denver versus rolling out in a city like New York City, for instance, is very different for numerous reasons.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's the national proof on the notes that I have.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, Hawaii has like a
No.
stronger program, higher match caps, better outreach. So outreach is important. Hawaii and Colorado, what they're doing much better than us is outreach. Most people know about it, as we're like here, not so much. Even Michigan has a much higher outreach. Michigan has great
Okay.
produce too. So like you think, oh, Michigan, it's freezing cold, but they have great blueberries. They have great apples, and a whole bunch of other stuff, tree fruit like peaches and stuff is really great
Well,
produce
hey,
up in
in New
Michigan.
Jersey, people make fun of us for the Turnpike and the Sopranos,
Oh,
but we are the Garden
the
State.
Garden State. So we were the blueberry capital of the world at one time, you know? So our blueberries are really good. I think our tomatoes are the best. We can get in debate about that all the time. And then our corn's phenomenal. But I also have this conversation with people everywhere. It's like you may think that like Pennsylvania has the best tomatoes. And you're probably right because you live there, it's local, it's your food. Wherever you live,
Yeah.
like your produce is delicious, delicious everywhere, you know? And otherwise, people wouldn't argue about like who has the best produce. The key is like getting it in season, preparing a little bit for later, saving a little bit, putting a little bit like in your freezer the right way, putting a little bit in your cellar the right way in cans, and like just go a little bit further with stuff you can buy locally. And that's a lot of what I talk to on Punk Rock Produce, as I've said earlier.
Yes, I know. I mean, I have a small vegetable garden in my yard,
Awesome.
which I struggle, especially by the end of summer, it's looking a little rough, overgrown. It's
Yeah.
tough to keep up with my kids and
Yeah, it
everything.
starts out so you have like all the ambition in the world, and then you go away for a few days, and then it just yeah.
But I will say, like, my kids are great eaters when it comes to fruits and vegetables because we in the winter we go through a catalog, we pick out seeds of things we want to
Yeah,
grow
it's
and then we
awesome.
grow it and then they pick it and they eat it and we go to the farmers market and they pick out things from the farmers market that they want to try. And it does make a difference, and I just think, like, everyone should be able to do that.
Yeah,
That shouldn't be something that
100%.
just a stay-at-home mom does or someone who can afford to go to I think everyone should have access to that. So I love a lot of the tips in your, Substack about how to can things and because you do make it accessible. Like, you're not Martha Stewart that has, like, a shelf in her cellar devoted to,
Yeah,
just, like, mason jars of raspberry jam that
yeah,
she did on a Saturday.
yeah.
Like, it's really approachable, and I think that is so important. What's, like, one quick thing that you think everyone should know right now that they could do? Like, something off the top of your head that's, like, quick and easy and, like, it's maybe not as hard as people think if it comes to, like, freezing or preserving stuff that's
Well,
in
right
season.
now, I think if for most of the country, we're like at the end of summer and autumn harvests are starting, and everybody always thinks of like apple picking and they can't wait to go apple picking. And we're going to put on like flannel shirts. It's going to be 85 degrees. We're going to get our fall pictures. But right now, right now, you can go to the farm. The farm has fresh corn. The farm has fresh tomatoes. If you're lucky, your farm might have a blueberry crop still. There might be a late bumper crop. There might be mulberries. There's going to be peppers. There's going to be some really good stuff grown on that farm. So, and you're going to pay $1.99, $2.99 a pound for phenomenal produce, phenomenal tomatoes that would cost you $4.99 in the store. If you have the ability in wherever you are, and you see like a sign that says fresh tomatoes, buy here, stop and buy a couple, you know, because that's going to help the existence of that farmer into the future. And that's what we need. We need local food communities on every level. And in order to do that, we really have to support our local farmers. So, like, that's something that's attainable for everybody to do, and everybody can be in on that process. It's going to be cheaper than you think. You're already going for a drive or a walk, or chances are, like, you're going to pass a farm stand or a farmer's market and just go and take a look around and, buy one less piece of fresh produce this week at Whole Foods or Food Town or ShopRite, and buy it like in your community from people in your community who grew it. And it's like one thing we can all do to like ensure this keeps happening. Another thing I like to talk about is like when I grew up, my mom used to say this all used to be farms. And it didn't make any sense to me, right? Like, no, that was always Bradley's. Like that was always a strip mall, but like now I'm an adult and I'm like, shit, this used to be a farm and now it's a bunch of townhomes, And
Yeah.
did like when I was like 10 years ago, did I do enough to go to that farm and buy tomatoes? No, but if I did, maybe it would still be here.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
that's like really important. And like, yeah, so sustainability
Awesome.
of farmers is like something we can all do. Like right now, summer's ending, fall's coming. We all want to go apple picking. Got a few weeks on that. But like right now, you can go get the best corn and best tomatoes like your state has to offer. Like I had corn in Vermont the other day and it was phenomenal. And I had corn from New Jersey today and it was phenomenal. And they were both, so locally, you're just going to have great produce wherever you are if you can just get out and get it.
Well, I think that is a great summary of what people can do. So, step one, find a farm stand or a farmer's market, buy something. Step two, call your state representatives,
Yeah.
whether it's in New Jersey or wherever you're listening from. Ask them what programs that are in place or what they're doing to support,
Equitable
low income
access to
families,
food.
SNAP benefits to get access to healthy, fresh food.
Yeah.
So thank you
Yeah.
so much for your time.
Thank
This has
you.
been great.
Yeah, one other thing, you can ask your
Yes.
farmer's market if they do good, if they participate in good food bucks, and if they don't, just let them know, hey, by November you can get your application in, and just tell them what little you might know about it from our conversation. You can go on goodfoodbucks.com, you can check it out, and then
Awesome.
like try to get good food bucks to get retailers and
Fantastic.
farm stands in your community to participate in this great program, so people have better
So
access to food.
perfect. So in
Thank
New
you.
Jersey, it's Good Food
Yep.
Bucks.
Yep.
And then if whatever state you're in, if
Yeah, it
you're
might be
in
something else.
elsewhere,
Correct. I'm
just
sorry.
ask whatever at your farm stand or your farmer's market if they have any of these programs for SNAP participants. And just even asking the question and having that conversation, I think will drive some shifts. So thank
Yep.
you.
And
Thank you
join
so
my
thank
conversation over at Punk Rock Produce on Substack or punkrockproduce.com. And together we
absolutely.
will create an equitable food system that's better for everybody.
Yes, I'm gonna freeze or preserve something. I
Do it.
have so
Yeah.
many tomatoes. I'm determined. You've
Yeah,
inspired
corn,
me.
I have a great guide on how to freeze corn. You won't need frozen corn all winter. You could buy corn for like 50 cents an ear right now. And like you can make your freeze your own corn or can your own corn, and it's just gonna be delicious. Like,
And then you'll have it for your Super Bowl chili,
yeah, exactly.
even though
So
my
many
husband
things.
hates that I put
Thanksgiving,
corn in it.
everything.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Greg.
Have a great weekend.
Have a great day. All right, bye.